Well, I'm glad Jason Benetti is here with us now because he can back me up, I think. Good morning, Jason. How are you?
Hi, good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
You know what? The Tigers' colors are awesome. If you're watching on video, you can see Jason right now on YouTube or Seattle Sports app or whatever, and he's got his Tigers gear on, voice of the Tigers. Tigers have great colors. They just look good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The orange is a nice touch, right? Like I like the extra orange for this team.
Yeah. Because it's like got that good navy, but then just like a little pop of color. I kind of a big fan. In any event, I was talking earlier with Brock about how, in some ways he's really holding on to his youth, but in other ways he's really aging rapidly. And one thing I'm noticing, and I'm curious if you notice the same thing, is that he's really become somebody that repeats himself. And that's not something I'd ever really thought of with Brock. And not just like 3 times in a row where he says the same thing 3 different ways. But like every night, I feel like I'm getting the same text on the same subject from him. He's starting to become an old man who rants about the same thing every night.
So, when you have a production meeting in football and he's got his list of stuff, you understand that you're just going to have to hear about violence. There's always violence. There's something about violence, right? You get the same questions because there's a pocket, right? He's certain that he's going to get the kind of emotional answer from somebody that he wants to get, right? It's wow. But he also, when it's going well, you do it, right? Like you want to have repeatability. And so, yes, absolutely, that's true. Mm-hmm. But I also think, I think he knows that, certain impressions are really good, right? I think he knows that certain phrases work for him. So I think it's much more like he's just trying to hit the audience where he knows it sticks, but also he might be senile. I don't know.
You two done?
A little bit. For now.
No, we're not. Yeah. We're not.
Okay.
I think
the repeat. Guess
sort
what
of
the
like
repeat
in Congress,
text
we
is.
sort of we reserve the right to come back and comment later.
Okay, we could do that at the end of it. Guess, take a wild guess, Benetti, of what I may be texting Salk about on a nightly basis as we watch the Hometown 9. Just take a shot at it. What do you think?
If it's anything like I was texting you on Saturday, it's how good Cal Raleigh is.
That's part of it.
Also, the swing and miss probably. Got to stop swinging and missing as a team.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
is that part of it?
Well,
that's part of it.
I mean, as I said, he's getting old. So, like a lot of old people that watch cable news all day, he's mad more than he's happy. So, I would say fewer.
He just talks about prune juice, he's just mad. Molly drank the prune juice again.
I mean, that's not entirely inaccurate either. But let's start with Cal before we get to the swing and miss and some of the offensive problems. You came in for how long were you here? Even 24 hours, 36 hours, whatever it was, to do the game and kind of be around the team. What was your takeaway just when it comes to Cal?
I just don't know where to pitch him, man. I don't know where to pitch him. I don't know how to pitch him. I don't know where to pitch him. And you heard Waino talk about it. And I love Adam Wainwright. His prep, if you saw his book, his prep is basically prepping like he's going to pitch to these guys, right? So it's heat maps, it's strategy. He looks at each 9 and preps like he's going to pitch to them. And, he's talking about you can't show him anything east to west because he's going to see it very well. I don't know what you do with him. Watching heat maps is one thing, and then you watch him in person. That home run he hit on Saturday, and yes, it's self-selection because that's the game I did, but I've watched off and on. If he's going to hit a ball that's eye high for a home run, I don't know where you're going to pitch him. You look at the map of his home runs this year, a bunch of them are middle, and I guess he hasn't done massive home run damage low, but everything else is a possible homer. Everything else is a possible shattered window. So to me, he's one of the best players in the game right now.
Mm-hmm. The Tigers saw the Mariners earlier this year, right? Didn't you take 2 or 3 from the Mariners earlier this year?
2 or 3. Yep.
You saw them early in the year in some of those early struggles, and then you saw them over the weekend where they ended up finding a way to win that series. Anything in your purview change from when you saw them in the first month of the season to the end of May?
Yeah, I mean, I think offensively, obviously, they're still challenged. I like the idea of Cole Young being up because there is some contact, right? There's some extra contact, and that is nice, right? I think a more varied lineup is the best way to do this in Major League Baseball, to have a bunch of different guys that are tough to pitch to in specific ways, because managers, by and large, are looking for that pocket to use a specific reliever, right? So if you have 3 straight guys or 2 of 3 that are prone to sinkers in, that gives you a chance to bring in your sinker baller for that pocket. So the more varied tendency breakers you have in a lineup, the better off you're going to be. So if there's a lot of chase and a lot of swing and miss based on breaking balls, all in a certain lane in that lineup, I think that's a problem. So the more varied the offense gets, to me, and I know I'm not watching them 162, so caveat emptor, but to me, you just need a more varied lineup. It's what has made Cleveland.
What'd you say? Caveat
What's
what?
Caveat emptor, buyer beware. Buyer beware.
Okay.
You know, when people say it's a caveat, like caveat emptor, the caveat meaning beware, emptor meaning buyer.
Wow. That's hot. I'm going to add that to my game to repeat.
He's going to say that 1,000 times in the next hour.
Pretty much. Thanks a lot, Jason. You've just now foist that upon the rest of us, except out of Brock's mouth, where he'll use it incorrectly. So thank you. I really appreciate that.
No, I'm pumped because and then Brock's going to go home and watch Rain Man and just start saying 20 minutes to Wapner over and over and over.
It's not that different from how he is now. Okay, so vary the lineup. That's sort of the big takeaway there.
He's crying. I made him cough once because he was laughing so hard. Now he's crying. Are you okay, bud?
I'm
okay?
good. Continue. You too.
Oh.
No, I'm great. No. I'm really, really good. Honestly, no.
Sorry, Salk. There was a weeping child in the background.
Is that what the Tigers have done, Jason? Is you sitting? I was just looking at the record once again. I was thinking back to the dinner we had with Coach Carroll at C-Star last year. At a point where you guys, one of your bosses, one of your front office people got in an argument with somebody else there. Like, we did not sell. And the other guy said, no, what are you talking about? We sold our best pitcher. And then you go on this magnificent run. It's carried into 2025. If you were to say, hey man, this is what I've learned of a blueprint of the best team in the American League right now, what in the heck is AJ and crew doing in Detroit?
It's maximizing all 26 roster spots as much as you possibly can. It's having one for every situation at least. And it's having as many skill sets specifically for a moment. Like the biggest swing of their postseason last year was from Andy Ibanez against Josh Hader in that series against Houston. And Andy Ibanez is on the team to mash left-handed pitching. That is his job. His career OPS versus left-handed pitching is right now basically Matt Olson for this season. So if you take those little snapshots, right, you have somebody who's an 800 OPS against right-handed pitchers, and you can add for that situation another quasi all-star or Hall of Very Good player. It's not an overall picture. Like when people say oh, this team's whiff rate is 27%, it's like, well, who is the guy that's up right now? Do they have that same characteristic? And AJ Hinch has maximized what each position on the roster can do. And credit Scott Harris, the team president, Jeff Greenberg, the GM as well, for building a roster that has a bunch of different skill sets. If you are specifically the best guy for this spot, the Tigers have one for that moment. And that is more than anything, I think that's good corporate advice. I think that's good teamwork advice. Maximize the person, everybody on your roster. It's like watching Brock at dinner with a TV crew. He's like, yeah, this napkin makes me think of Brandon. Brandon, you mentioned napkins 3 weeks ago.
Perfect.
And he maximizes everybody.
It's spot on. Hey, so let me ask you a question about that, because this kind of goes to a debate Brock and I have been having. Someone like Andy Ibanez, who you said was on there to mash left-handed pitching, how much does it hit against right-handed pitching?
Not that much, right? But AJ Hinch can leave him there for an at-bat if he feels like he's going to steal another one against a left-hander later. Mm-hmm. And the other thing that AJ Hinch does that I think managers forget sometimes, honestly, truly forget in Major League Baseball, is sometimes he'll leave a guy on the bench because as a pinch hitter, it's the only time as a manager you can decide who that batter's facing. So if he really likes Kerry Carpenter versus Colin Snyder, He can wait for Colin Snyder to come in the game and put Kerry Carpenter into the game for that. Like 3rd and 1, you want a quarterback that can run the sneak or just like option or whatever. You put him in for that situation. You don't have to wait for the randomness of the lineup to turn over. So he gets leverage moments that he feels like are advantageous late by using pinch hitters.
So it raises, kind of gets into a deeper conversation. Jason Benetti with us here. And, Brock and I have kind of gone back and forth with maybe the team in the past was a little too formulaic, a little more predictable. You bring in the lefty, we're going to bring in the righty. You bring in this guy, we're going to do that. And that other managers maybe had a sense as to kind of, what was going to happen. And some of Dan's moves in the first couple months of this season have been, against that. Let's just say they've not been traditional, or at least what we would consider modern traditional, with the way managers tend to manage now. And I found myself thinking, my wife was telling me this story about AI, and people are trying to fool AI by asking it questions that it's like not really prepared to answer. Like they'll say, hey, AI, create me a room with absolutely no elephants. And AI will put an elephant in the room because it sees the word elephant. It's just not programmed to do absolutely no elephants. It doesn't really understand what that means, so it kind of goes haywire. And I wonder how much that exists in today's game of baseball where, hey, we're going to go to the righty, so they're going to go to the lefty. Wait a minute. Why is Dylan Moore still in the game? Wait, why are we now getting, Miles Mastroboni? How much does that affect a modern manager, I guess, is the short question after a very long setup.
Long question.
Sorry.
If you asked AJ, I actually don't know that you could call it a question. If you asked AJ, just kidding. If you asked AJ Hinch, I think his answer would be that you have to be unpredictable. From watching AJ for the past couple of years and just watching baseball over the last 10 or so, I think this is a lot like poker. I think it's a lot like the World Series of poker, that you come in and you know that this tendency for Freddie Deeb or this tendency for Johnny Chan, and then it's his job to break that. It's that player's job to break that tendency. And so AJ Hinch pinch hitting for Spencer Torkelson, pinch hitting for, one of the home run leaders on the team, Kerry Carpenter, in May, puts it on tape, right? Brock, I think of football a lot, honestly. We go into a game and it's 3rd down and 2, and they're 90% run. If there's a play action pass there, the next week, the other team's going to take you as you lie. And is it going to be 50-50 this week? Or can you go back to what you're really good at? So you mix one in to cleanse the palate and break the tendency. And I think that's enormous in Major League Baseball, as long as you're doing it for that reason. But if you then, because you're just being untraditional and you're keeping a righty-righty matchup and you do it 10 times and it actually makes the player worse, then you're not reaping the benefits of that tendency break. And instead you're just running a guy into a wall. So I think it's about picking your spots on that. But in my understanding, it is very important to make the other manager believe that your counterattack is coming and then not send in the troops.
Hey, what do you remember from Waino talking about Julio? You mentioned Cal and how he's covering everything. Just kind of curious, because I think in that Saturday game, did Julio struggle in a couple big moments as well, and late and everything else. And he's such a conversation piece for us. And now that he's got Cal that has just taken off, meteoric rise, what do you, and in particular, what did Waino think of Julio's heat map?
I don't remember exactly where we went with that, but I do, the juxtaposition with Cal in the lineup. It's not Julio versus Cal. I think Cal Raleigh being on your team makes everybody else's swing decisions seem pedestrian sometimes, because he is so good at controlling the zone, even though Cal's swing rate is, what it is. His chase rate is 31% or something like that. The one thing that it strikes me that I think everybody, this is not just a Julio thing, and I'm not trying to obfuscate, but I really think Cal Raleigh is the centerpiece of the discussion, because his meatball swing percentage, they have on Baseball Savant meatball swing percentage, how often you swing at balls in the middle of the zone. He's at 86%. He swings at fat pitches and does damage on fat pitches. He has like 8 home runs in the middle of the plate. And I think swing take decisions are so important. So what struck me with them near each other in the lineup is like, get the real pitch you can break a window with and do something with that. It's less about Julio and more about when you have somebody on the roster who does damage like that, it makes everybody else seem like they're doing it less, at least to me as an observer.
As you've been traveling around the league this year with the Tigers and or with Fox, what have you thought of the league in general? Because it does feel like there are not a lot of great teams out there.
Yeah, it's inconsistent, right? Like it's just inconsistent, and I think part of it is schedule. Part of it, two things, guys, that I think that are worth watching later in the season. Number one, how many off days have you had recently? Setting up your rotation and setting up your bullpen is uber important. The Tigers have 2 losses in the last couple weeks when they've either had a bullpen day, pitching chaos, or like they've just not had a bullpen that could be readily available for the specific situations that AJ Hinch wants because of usage, because of doubleheaders, whatever it might be. I think that's really important. Like, what does your schedule look like? What has your opponent been doing recently? The other piece of this, and I don't know what it is today, but as of 2 days ago, there were 10 teams in Major League Baseball over league average, weighted runs created plus, that like damage metric, league average is 100. There were 10 teams over 100 versus left-handed pitching. 10 teams. A third of the league was doing anything above average damage against left-handed pitching. Are right-handed batters getting worse? I don't know. Part of it, I've posed this question to a number of people, including our brass. I think part of it is the left-handed pitchers in the league are just so good. It's like when you have a lefty, the lefty starters are aces. Carlos Rodon, Max Fried, Tarek Skubal, Cole Reagans, whoever it is. But I also think right-handed bats just aren't doing as much damage for whatever reason, whether people are hunting left-handed power. I don't know what it is, but there is a gap right now in the industry. And we even asked our friends at Sport Radar, like, as of May the 24th or whatever, where does this rank in left-handed slug compared to other through May 24th? And it was like 6th worst since 1974. So that's another trend. Like, is right-handed power not there? Are the lefties that good? And what does that do for teams who have good left-handed pitchers? And will teams see this and seek out lefties with a little bit more fervor at the deadline? I don't know.
I love that. It's a fascinating idea. My eyes would tell me that the lefties we see in the league now throw a lot harder. I know everyone throws a lot harder, but the lefties really throw a lot harder. It used to be any lefty who could touch 95. You were like, whoa, this is unique. And I mean, Randy Johnson is sort of stands alone as the one hard throwing lefty starter from, most of our time watching this game. And now it's like, you got guys every day, it looks like, from the left side throwing 97, 98, 99 miles an hour. And if it's a rarity to even see a lefty, right, just because there are fewer of them, and now they're throwing as hard as they are, I wonder if that combines to make it so challenging. That's just a hypothesis.
No, honestly, I've been wondering about this since we started looking it up. Like, there are a couple of hypotheses, and I think that's definitely one of them. I think I'd add on to that is like, lefties can get righties out now. We're farming major league pitchers. If you look at the San Francisco bullpen, and it's one of the best bullpens in the league. Look at the Giants bullpen. It's like 2 or 3 in ERA. They have one lefty pitcher. Part of it is righties are getting lefties out too, and lefties are doing the same to right-handers. So if lefties are throwing that hard, they're getting righties out as well. We're farming pitchers in Major League Baseball who have that duality, right? Who can get both hands out. And I think that might be an important part of it as well, is that lefties are not only getting lefties out, we've created sort of bionic lefties who have stuff that can get righties out, like a really good changeup, a back shoe breaking ball that really does damage to right-handers that's precise enough to not spin in the zone.
They're not throwing
those flip
curveballs that just sort of, take on the outside edge of the plate to righties. They actually have a real out pitch that can get a righty out, which, if you go back 15 years, they didn't have that. They just were sort of hoping to catch the outside edge of the zone with an 85-mile-an-hour curveball, and if it missed, it was getting hit a mile. Yeah, that's fascinating.
Correct.
I like that. Oh, that's a good conversation.
Yeah.
Next time, do you
Just
want
watch
me
it as the year
Bro,
goes
we don't
on.
need you. Could you leave? Let Jason and I just keep talking
You know
baseball.
what?
We're done
Next
with you.
time, why don't you two just do the whole segment? Caveat emptor here.
I know.
and-
Poor Brock feels left out.
Not to obfuscate.
No, he doesn't. He learned a new Latin phrase.
Not to obfuscate. I mean, do you use fancy words? Do you just dumb down during football season for me? Is that kind of my takeaway from this 20 minutes? Because you don't use
Third
words
down
like
throw.
obfuscate,
Me like throw third down.
caveat emptor, duality.
Do you understand it now? Me throw. Me punt fourth down. Tory Taylor like.
Okay, I guess you do.
Are we done?
Thanks.
All right. Jason,
I think so.
Thank you. I'm sorry you had to witness the fire alarm situation here at T-Mobile on Saturday.
that was great.
It was some great
that was great.
FaceTime for Trevor
That
Gooby,
was great.
who was all over it, though.
How cool is T-Mobile?
Is that who
when it's
that was
rocking
with
out?
the? Is that who that was?
Yeah,
with
I almost
the
texted you.
earpiece?
He's their he runs the facilities there. He's like one of the world's best humans. He's like an awesome, tremendous person, and he's getting a lot of
Yeah.
screen time. I was feeling bad for Trevor in that spot.
But that was a cool night,
No, you
right,
can't.
Jason? I mean, just T-Mobile.
I love that. I love that
rocking.
ballpark, Brock. Like I love
Like
that
legitimately,
ballpark.
you and I talk about this, right? Autzen Stadium,
Yes.
Nebraska. You and I have our favorites. When it comes to you getting a Fox game and doing a big game on a national, like where would T-Mobile rank in your? Is it in your top 5?
Top 3. It's a top 3 ballpark for me. Just atmosphere, the feel of it. They did a great job with the design. It gets very loud. And I enjoy actually that there's that open air down the left field line, because you never feel like you're indoors, because when it's chilly outside, it's a little chilly in there. And I actually think that adds to the atmosphere. I really do.
Where's Rate Field on that list?
Check, please. Here's the thing about Rate Field. The food is great. The food is great. You may see that in the booth here, the sunlight just bakes you during the day. So we were doing games in 2020
I didn't
during
even
the.
realize that's where you were right now.
Yeah.
I was just asking.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize. I'm
Jason's
looking at
very-
the schedule. There you
he's
are. You're
very-
back in your old haunt.
He's very tan. He
Uh-huh.
loves the sun.
Sorry.
He really, really enjoys
Yeah.
the sun.
My collar is way more orange than I am. So in 2020, we're doing these COVID games off a monitor, and we'd come in here and it'd be like a day game in Pittsburgh, and we're watching the game only off a monitor. It took me like 3 weeks to get a visor for the monitor. I'm trying to watch a game in Pittsburgh, and it's too sunny in Chicago for me to do the game in Pittsburgh, which made me think, you know what? Maybe I should have become a lawyer.
What is Rate?
Rate, so it used to be guaranteed rate field.
right.
It's a mortgage, people. They changed it to rate because evidently with the White Sox, there are no guarantees.
Bada boom.
We'll leave on that note. Jason Benetti, the voice of the Tigers. Hear him on Fox, and no longer, unfortunately, with Brock. But thanks, man. We appreciate it. Great stuff, as always. Let's talk again soon.
Sounds great. Thanks, guys.
All right, there you go. There is Jason Benetti, Brock.